I know you want it, wanna be trying. Just keep on pushing on that you're
Hey guys, welcome back to the video. Hi, my name is Faithful. If this is your first time stopping by, please don't make it your last time you'll be seeing this beautiful face by hitting the subscribe button. Like, share, comment and subscribe. And to my returning subscribers, you already know how I feel about you. Thank you for your constant love. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be having a very fun one, which is UK culture shocks from the eyes of a Nigerian. Yes, culture shocks, like these are things that have shocked me from me living here. I've been here for over 2 years now, and I'm still trying to adapt into some of them, and some I've already adapted into it fully. So without wasting much time, guys, let's dive right into this video. First of all, I'd like to define culture. Culture is like the way of life of people, how people go about their daily life in terms of languages, the languages they speak, the food they eat, their weather, and so henceforth. So culture shock is some surprised feeling that I experience from other people's culture. The culture shock number one that I experience is the use of pleasantries here, exchange of pleasantries / greetings. Here, you just go by hello, are you okay, you doing all right, and so on and so forth. But from a Nigerian, you have to typically greet, which I love and I still do. But that was like a very big culture shock for me when I first experienced it, because it was giving me disrespectful. It felt a bit disrespectful. That's what they're used to, that's what they normally do. So you can create a balance for yourself in the sense that you can greet them like hello, good morning, you okay, or you can greet someone that stands your culture, that comes from your nationality, by good morning ma, and stuff like that. So you have to create a balance for what works for you. Basically, culture shock number two is saying thank you to the bus driver. Here you have to say thank you to your bus driver when you highlight from the bus. It's not what I'm used to in my country. It's a good thing. So there are some of these culture shocks that are good and some that are not so good. Saying thank you to the bus driver, I see it as a very good culture difference, in the sense that the person is actually rendering you a service. If the person didn't show up, you might have been stranded for the day. It won't cost you a ham or a flesh to say thank you. So I actually see it as a very good thing to say thank you to the bus driver when you're highlighting down from the bus. So the next culture shock I experience is how open these people are. They are basically very open. You could meet someone while you're standing in the queue at the bank, and then the person tells you their life history, how much they have in their savings account, what they're saving that money for, if it's for a house or a car, for a vacation, if they're pregnant, how good the pregnancy is, and stuff like that. That was a bit of a culture shock to me, because where I'm coming from, we're not that open, and I really don't blame them because of past experiences or things they've experienced before. So that was actually a culture shock for me. They are very open. It was a good thing, but still you have to create your balance, know when to be open and when not to be so open. Next culture shock is the fact that tap water is safe here. You can actually drink tap water and not fall sick. That's a very big deal for me in my country, because not all tap water is safe in my country. So that was actually a culture shock for me. Another culture shock I experienced is that you have to buy or pay for shopping bags at shopping centers. Like when you buy things in Nigeria, they give you that as a complimentary service, or give you that for a complimentary purpose. But here you have to pay for your shopping bags. Though I heard that it was implemented just to reduce the amount of waste that is usually accumulated or littered around the street, of which I understand, but that came to me as a very big culture shock, because why do I have to pay for shopping bag? But yeah, that was a culture shock for me. I understand their point of view, why they implemented that policy, why they made it the fact that you have to pay for it, but it was a culture shock for me. Another culture shock I experienced was the unnecessary use of sorry. Here, when you say sorry, it's giving you are at fault, you caused it, you are wrong and all that. But where I'm coming from, they'll use sorry to beat you. When you fall down, say sorry. When you trip, when you have an accident, say sorry. When you're sick, say sorry. When you're crying, say sorry. I understand it's done out of sympathy. It's a way to express sympathy. But here, when you say I'm sorry, it's giving you at fault, you caused it. It's not a way they sympathize here. So that was actually a culture shock for me, because for instance, there was a day a British colleague of mine was giving me a lift back home, and someone drove recklessly in front of her. That made her swerve off the road a bit. So I was like, oh, so sorry about that. And she was like, why are you saying sorry? And I felt so foolish, because I'm trying to sympathize with you over what just happened. And she was like, you didn't cause that, you shouldn't be saying sorry. I actually understand where they are coming from, in the sense that you shouldn't be saying sorry when you didn't do that thing, but it was just what I was used to. Henceforth, why it came to me as a culture shock. Here, when you say sorry, it's giving you caused it, you're at fault, you shouldn't have done that, and stuff like that. So that was a culture shock for me. So another culture shock that I experienced was weather difference. In Nigeria, we have just two weather conditions, which is the rainy season and the dry season. But here we have four types of seasons, four types of weather conditions. Is winter, autumn, spring, and summer. It was actually a very big deal for me, because it was not what I was used to. In winter time, by 4 p.m. it's already dark. So that was actually a very big culture shock for me, in the sense that why is it dark by 4 p.m. and I hated it so much. But yeah, that was a big culture shock for me. So during winter you have like less daytime and more of nighttime, but during summer you have more of daytime and less nighttime. So by 10 p.m. in summer you can still have daylight, sunshine, everywhere is still bright. But in winter, by 4 p.m. everywhere is dark. So they actually taught me this in school, but I didn't know I was going to need it, so I was even going to experience it. But here we are experiencing it, and it actually came to me as a culture shock. But when I started experiencing it, I could recall that this was what I was taught in school, and this is why it's happening. So that came to me as a culture shock too, and I know it's happening to so many other people that are relocating here. I mean, it's going to come to you as a culture shock too, but it is what it is. So another culture shock that I experienced was calling people by their name. Here you address everybody by their first name, including your bosses at work, your colleagues, your lecturers, and all that. You address them by their first name. But in Nigeria, you have to accord them that courtesy of respect and put sir, ma, auntie, uncle in front of it. So that was a culture shock for me, because it was not what I was used to coming from my country. But I had to like blend in the sense that I referred to British people here by their first name, and referred to people that were from my country and understood my culture, accorded them their respect too. Another culture shock that I experienced was their return policy. For instance, their return policy actually works here, in the sense that when you buy something both online and in physical shops, you can actually return it at the speculated time frame allocated to that particular item. So they have like return policies you have to read and understand. If you don't understand, you can ask questions. How long does your return policy last for? Say for instance, you buy a clothing item and you get home and you try it and it doesn't fit, or you got a clothing item delivered or a shoe delivered and it doesn't fit, you can return it as far as you have your voucher for the physical shop, and for the online shop you can return it just following their procedures of how they expect you to return it. Return policy actually works here, but in my country we don't have so much return policy implemented for business owners or people shopping. I can't even blame business owners. People would tend to take advantage of that policy and just mess up your business. So that was a culture shock for me. I never knew return policies existed. So another bad experience was beauty standard. Here their beauty standards differs quite from ours, in the sense that when you're slim and skinny and all that, they refer to you as being healthy. but when you're a bit on the chubby side, they feel you are not healthy, you have to lose weight. But back in my country, when you're chubby, they feel you're healthy, they feel you are eating right, they feel you are the healthy type. But when you're slim, they feel like it's giving, you know, seafood chop, you're not eating enough. So the beauty standard actually differs from each country. Culture shock that I experienced was in terms of driving. Here they use the left-handed drive, and also they don't make use of their car horns. They use the left-handed drives here, and in my country we use the right-hand drive. They don't make use of their car horns. But in my country, you make use of your car horns when you want to greet your friend passing by the road, when you want to tell somebody that they are at fault, they shouldn't be on this lane, or you want to make somebody know that you are furious or angry at them, you use your car horn. When you're calling somebody's attention to yourself, or you want your friend to notice that, oh, you're here, you use your car horn. So in terms of driving, it was a culture shock for me because I've never experienced that. I can count the number of times I've actually heard cars use their horns here. So another culture shock I experienced was in terms of their gadgets. When I came, I really didn't understand why gadgets back in Nigeria were referred to as UK used, because the prices were different. I mean, gadget that you could buy for 250k in Nigeria, you'd actually get it for like 350 or 300 and something pounds here. So I really didn't understand why those gadgets were referred to in Nigeria as UK used. But the culture shock I experienced in terms of gadgets was that the prices of gadgets here, they are a bit more expensive than the ones we have in Nigeria. So that was actually a big culture shock for me, because I felt, oh, when I come, I'll be able to buy all the gadgets I wanted at a cheaper rate, at a very, very affordable rate. But gadgets here are actually more expensive than they were in Nigeria. That culture shock I experienced was that houses don't usually have air conditioners and fans installed in them here compared to Nigeria. I actually felt that, okay, they usually have heaters installed in their houses. I thought during summer those heaters would be able to dispense like cool air, but reverse was the case. The heaters only dispense hot air. So that was more of a culture shock for me, because I've never experienced anything like that. Most houses do not have AC and fans here in the UK, but in Nigeria we have houses having fans and ACs. I know it's based on the weather, but I just felt that the heaters here will be able to dispense cool air during summer, but that wasn't it. Another culture shock I experienced was that the structures of the houses, how small they are. Houses here are literally very small, and coming from my country, houses in Nigeria are actually bigger in sizes compared to houses in the UK. Here you can have like a 3-bedroom apartment and you have just 1 bathroom with it. But in Nigeria you can have like a 3-bedroom apartment and all rooms will be en suite. So I really didn't like this fact, but yeah, it came to me as a culture shock. Also, another culture shock is house sharing is a thing here. I mean, when I was in Nigeria, I've heard of house sharing, but I really didn't understand, or I really didn't see the need to know what it meant. But here, house sharing is a thing. You can rent just a room from a block of flats and have other people rent the other rooms out to people you don't even know. But in Nigeria it's not so common, it's not so much of a thing. If you're renting the house, then the house entirely belongs to you. But here you can rent just a room out of a block of flats. So house sharing is a thing here, and that came to me as a culture shock because it's a thing, it's a normal thing here. Another culture shock I experienced is equality. Everybody here is equal. This is a very beautiful culture shock because everybody is treated equally. There's no preferential treatment given to anybody, no matter your economical status or who you are. Everybody is equal. You could literally see a high profile societal individual board a train with you. You could see a footballer on the same train with you. They're not moving around with escorts. Or you could see a political aspirant moving on the same train with you. You're not moving around with escorts or anything. If you're on the queue, the person is going to stay right in their space. Nobody's going to take them from point D to point A just because of their economical status. But preferential treatment is given to people of high societal value in my country. So equality is a thing here, which I really loved. If you're wrong, and you get the same consequence or the same punishment as every other individual will get. Nobody's going to give you a preferential treatment and say, oh, because you're this person, you'll be punished this way or not. Here, equality is practiced. Everybody's equal. Next culture shock is discount is discount. A particular brand here tells you they are having discounts. You'd actually see the discount affected on the prices. But where I'm coming from, discount is just an avenue to make you patronize them at that particular point. Say for instance, something was going for 2.5 initially. When they tell you they are doing discount, they will inflate the price to 3k and then tell you that the sales price now is 2.5. So you'll be feeling like, oh, you've saved 500 naira, but actually that was the previous price it was before they actually said they wanted to do sales. But here, when they tell you they're doing sales, you actually feel the effect of the price that, oh yes, they're doing sales. So discount is discount, except for some terms and conditions which may apply to the product or whatever. Discount is discount. The next culture shock is that public transport like buses, train and so on will move even if they have just one passenger. Nigeria, I'm so sorry, but a bus driver has just one passenger, his boss is going to cancel the trip. I'm sorry to tell you that he cannot waste his fuel and effort just for the sake of one passenger. And I really don't blame them, to be very honest. You just have to understand how things are. But here, the allocated time is the allocated time. When you are to move, you are to move. Even if they have just one passenger on board, they're just going to move regardless, because along the way they are going to pick up more passengers. So if they don't leave spot A to spot B just because they were only able to pick one passenger at spot A, what then happens to the other passengers at spot B, C and so on and so forth? It's surprising to me, because I was like, the first time I entered a public transport and there were no much people in the buses, I was actually so scared that let this bus not leave me halfway, because I don't know my way around. I was in Google Map then, but to my first surprise, the bus actually moved with less passengers and got to its final destination without saying a word or feel like he was doing us a favor. He actually moved and did his duty. It was a very big culture shock for me too. Another culture shock that I experienced was in terms of punctuality. I don't know if I should classify this as a culture shock, but it was actually a thing for me. No African man time here. It was actually a thing for me when I nearly came, because so what we're used to, there's always African man time in my country. When you have a meeting by 3 p.m. or you have an interview or you are supposed to be somewhere by 3 p.m, you should be there before 3 p.m. But back in my country, if you have like an event by 3 p.m, you can always go past 3 p.m, 4 p.m and all that. But reverse is the case here. When they tell you 4 p.m or 3 p.m, you have to be there before that time. It happens with buses, because the bus is going to move exactly 3 p.m. And then it happens in terms of house viewing and all that. When they tell you you have a house viewing by 3 p.m, you should be there exactly or before 3 p.m or exactly or before that time, because if you don't come, the appointment is automatically cancelled. Here, punctuality is actually a thing and it is practice. It's actually a good culture shock that I had to embrace, because it was not something I was used to before. So yeah, punctuality, you have to be punctual here. 3 p.m is 3 p.m, you have to keep up to the time and all that. It's a very good habit and I loved it, but it was still a culture shock to me. The last but not the least culture shock that I've experienced was you can't refer to your boss or your lecturer or your colleague as sir, ma, auntie, uncle, and so on and so forth. But that's a culture shock for people from my country because it's actually done as a sign of respect. We do that because we respect you, so we refer to as good morning sir, good morning ma, oh boss, hello boss, stuff like that. But yeah, that's a culture shock that I actually experienced. So guys, we've actually come to the end of this video. These are my points of views and these are the culture shocks that I've experienced as a Nigerian living in the UK. This was done with no intention to cause any conflict. This honest opinion. Let me know in the comment section if you've experienced any of these culture shocks, or also let me know in the comment section if you've experienced some other culture shocks that I didn't list out, and I'll be sure to engage in the comments down below. For now, we've successfully come to the end of this video. Please leave a love emoji in the comment section if you watched it to this point. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And I'll be sure to see you in my next video. For now, I love you, but God loves you more. See you in my next video. Bye.